Brian, we meet at last.
Wow! Wow!
For the first time and the last time, Master Ninja. Although I'm sure I'm opening myself up to a lawsuit from Ed Glazer, what brings you here to my show? Today you review Shang-Chi, a Chinese Marvel Comics superhero. I am Japanese, and if we're to corner the comic book market, Shang-Chi's review must be stopped. You realize Japan already owns a huge portion of the comics book market. Imported manga is a huge seller in most American bookshops. That as may be, but it is now time for the overly long and overly complicated kung fu fight sequence. Very well. Although, may I point out that you don't actually look Japanese, but Caucasian? How dare you? I was adopted, but I am still Japanese. Sorry. Now prepare for the only martial arts a middle-aged, overweight man could master. I practice sloth style. Hey! This could take a while. You go ahead and enjoy the show. No, seriously, I'll just be here stabbing him to death. Well, that was $7 well spent. Hi everyone, welcome back to Comic Book Issues. I'm your host, Brian Heinz. Fun fact, this is the same shirt I was wearing in the opening. I'm woozy from blood loss. Oh, anyway, not all superheroes have superpowers, although they all can fight. That's pretty much a requirement. And some have superpowers that tie into fighting, like Iron Fist and his unbreakable fist. Still, others are just really good with a certain type of weapon, like Hawkeye with his bow and arrow or the Punisher with his guns. Still, others can just fight really, really well. No superpowers. Throw in a quasi-mystical / mysterious past, and you've got the makings of a master of Kung Fu. Enter Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi was created in 1972 when Marvel wished to adapt the Kung Fu television program. They were denied rights by the show's owner, Warner Communication, which is not surprising as they owned Marvel's rival DC Comics. Later, Marvel acquired the rights to the classic pulp villain Dr. Fu Manchu. Shang-Chi was then developed as his rebellious son, and then first appeared in Special Marvel Edition number 15 in a comic by Steve Englehart and Jim Starlin. When Marvel lost the rights to Dr. Fu Manchu, Shang-Chi's origins became more mysterious until he experienced a soft reboot in Secret Avengers when Ed Brubaker introduced him to the team and we learned that Fu Manchu was actually an alias for his real father, Zheng Zhu, an immortal Chinese sorcerer. Since then, there have been a few more guest appearances, a co-starring role in Heroes for Hire and Agents of Atlas, even a tie-in miniseries to that year's big event comic. But now it's time to find out whose kung fu is strongest of all. Is Shang-Chi still the master? Can the deadly martial arts combat publishing delays due to COVID? Well, in tonight's episode, we'll find out, except for the COVID thing, as we review Shang-Chi number 1. Shang-Chi is written by Jean Luen Yang, the author of New Superman, which starred a Chinese version of the American hero and drawn by Dick Ruan, with flashbacks illustrated by Philip Tan. Our story opens in the Tianjin prefecture of Imperial China, circa mid-1700s. Members of the Five Weapons Society are about to be put to death as all martial arts have been outlawed. However, the 4 men and 1 woman are saved by their masters, Zheng Zhu and his brother Zheng Yi, collectively known as the Sorcerer Brothers. They free their disciples and restore their weapons. The governor threatens them. The mystic arts will fall alongside the martial arts, but the brothers aren't worried. It seems that when he built his palace on this land, the governor didn't take into account the former occupant, the dragon known as Fin Fang Foom. Freed, the Five Weapons Society and the Sorcerer Brothers were the protectors of China until their deaths. The elder brother Zhu developed a longevity spell and became the society's sole leader, until he too met his end at the hands of his son, Shang-Chi. In modern London, we find Master Staff, leader of the House of the Deadly Staff, paying tribute to his father Zheng Zhu. The ceremony is halted by the arrival of Sister Hammer. She challenges him, and after dismissing their students, the battle commences. The Sorcerer Brothers, Brother Staff, Sister Hammer. It's all a little on the nose, don't you think? Still, there's a nice simplicity to it all. Oh, for example, Captain America could become known as Brother Shield. Hawkeye could be Cousin Bo, the kind with the string and arrows, not the staff. And Spider-Man? Well, he'd be cousin by marriage Imperial Yankee Webman. Okay, so they're not all winners. Anyway, back to Shang-Chi here on Comic Book Issues with me, your host, Uncle Marital Aid.
Hammer reminds him that they were meant to rule the world, but Staff has made the society nothing more than a drug cartel. The tide in the battle turns to Hammer, and she crushes his organs. Upon his defeat, the flame over his staff extinguishes and relights over the hand. Hammer is furious. The hand was cast out, but Staff has a good chuckle as their father is making their life difficult from beyond the grave. Hammer quickly finishes Staff off. She then sends Staff's forces to America. In San Francisco, in Chinatown, in a bakery, Shang-Chi is working as a counterboy, packaging up baked goods with lightning speed. His employer, known as Grandma Wang, is more than pleased by his work ethic and leaves him to man the front. Then a beautiful woman enters. She's Delilah, Grandma Wang's niece.
Shang, you should know something. I'm your landlady's niece who calls herself Grandma by way of her marriage to your uncle on your mother's side. Oh, what does that make us? Absolutely nothing. Although I do plan on being emotionally manipulative if it lets me get a discount on her famous egg tarts. It won't.
She's impressed that an ex-Avenger is working for room and board, and he's embarrassed he doesn't know how to have a normal life. Grandma shows up, and there's some passive-aggressive tiger momming, as she's the one who put her niece through law school. Delilah slips him her number even as Auntie warns her off. His family is bad news. Just then he notices someone running across a rooftop opposite the shop. He's eagle-eyed enough to make out a holster on her leg. Worried that he's drawn one of his enemies to this neighborhood and innocent people will be hurt, he heads to that rooftop only to get a gun drawn at him by a beautiful brunette in purple. So, Kate Bishop? Oh, wait, she's Asian, so Psylocke. Oh, no, actually, it's Leiko Wu, an old acquaintance and British secret agent. He disarms her and they head back to his place. Only for teen cakes. Leiko explains that MI6 has tracked the Five Weapons Society and they're targeting Shang-Chi, but Shang-Chi thought the society disbanded following his father's death. Just then, several assassins burst in from, well, nowhere specific, but a fight breaks out, of course.
Whew. Every last person there was engaged in the martial art combat known as Kung Fu. These felines were every bit as fast as an ionic weather discharge. As a matter of factual statement, the combat did induce a certain degree of anxiety. That said, the choreography was performed in an expert manner to show no discontinuity between combatants. Oh!
The leader of the group asks if he's Shang-Chi, son of Jing Zhu. The man and a young woman disrobe and turn on the other deadly staff assassins. They are Brother Saber and Sister Dagger, leader of those houses in the Five Weapons Society. They call him Brother Hand, since he was raised in the House of the Deadly Hand, and explain that their father's spirit has chosen him as the Society's next Supreme Commander. And while Saber is happy to welcome Shang-Chi back after killing their father, he didn't. His little sister Dagger is a little more sulky. They need Shang-Chi to assume his position as Supreme Commander before the new commander wreaks havoc on the world. He's less inclined to go with two people claiming to be his siblings after they murdered a bunch of people in front of him. Dagger calls him a coward, tosses a few daggers at him, and says they'll kill Sister Hammer with her stupid eye tattoo. That mention sparks something in Shang-Chi, even as the daggers emit a smokescreen. The woman they described as his mother's only other child. His sister. Even as this is going on, Sister Hammer learns that Shang-Chi lives. Simultaneously, Shang-Chi swears to save his sister from their father's cult, while half a world away, Sister Hammer promises to murder Shang-Chi.
And that's the first issue of Shang-Chi. Giant Dragon aside, a book that seems to be on the edges of the Marvel Universe. But is this a modern-day Enter the Dragon or a modern-day Game of Death? Bruce Lee fans will get that. Let's take a closer look at Shang-Chi #1.
First off, I'm very pleased that Marvel has turned Shang-Chi over to a team of Asian creators, even if the character itself is a bit of an Asian stereotype, the traveling kung fu yeoman. Writer Gene Luen Yang is best known for writing New Superman at DC Comics, which followed the Superman of China, Kong Kanan. The art by Deke Ruin is decent, if not a little sloppy looking, but he handles the action scenes well and does decent expression work. I've seen better, but I've also seen a lot worse. Philip Tan, who's been established in the comic book industry for a while now, does better work in the flashbacks. Although some of his faces look awkward at times, he draws a mean dragon, and the story takes on a larger-than-life quality. And Sebastian Chang's color work, especially in these flashbacks, is wonderful. This book has a lot of distinct characters, but they seem divided into two worlds. The real world, the modern world, has the aunt and niece in Chinatown, and then there's the martial arts fantasy world with the over-the-top characters named after weapons. The transition is a bit jarring, and I maybe wish that the martial arts characters, especially Dagger and Saber, were a little more grounded. Perhaps the biggest thing working against the title is Shang-Chi himself. He comes across as bland beyond his well-meaning protagonist role. Basically, all I've gotten from this book is that his biggest character trait is being upset that they don't make crystal cakes right in America. He does admit he's not quite used to the quote-unquote normal life, but maybe that could become the focus of the book's subplot and be used to ground the comic. I do like that it touches on Shang-Chi's history, like his more recent appearances in Secret Avengers, but doesn't make it necessary to have read those to enjoy the story. That all these martial arts characters share an evil dead immortal magician for their father, and that Hammer is specifically his biological sister, gives Shang-Chi an emotional connection to the story that I think will serve it well. And Hammer could become a great villain for Shang-Chi because of this. After all, the best villains are the ones who know how to pull your strings and really hurt you.
And while I can honestly say that Shang-Chi is not for everyone, I do think it will appeal to most people who read it, and you should enjoy yourself. I give Shang-Chi #1 3 out of 5 stars. Hopefully future issues will address the changes that need to be made and make the book an even better read. Hoping you have good fortune. Oh yeah, hey, you know those little cookies they serve you at the end of your meal at Chinese restaurants? They're called fortune cookies. Why? I mean, is it good fortune to eat one of them? I mean, I don't... Oh, there's a strip of paper in the cookie with your fortune on it. Those cookies have paper in them? Oh. Well, at least I'm getting some fiber in my diet. Until next time, my friends, this is Comic Book Issues, and I'm your host, Brian Heinz.